So, it is September 10th, 2015. I am in my living room interviewing Tim Hotchkin, International Leatherboy 2015, as of last weekend.
As last weekend.
And before we get started, I have to go through the formalities for the Leather Archives Museum. This interview is being audio and video recorded. Eventually, one or both of them may wind up at the Leather Archives and Museum. Do you wish to place any limitations on who can see or hear the recordings or when they can see or hear them?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. And the archives thanks you. So, you have been on my, I bet he'd make an interesting interview list for quite a while. So when I saw that you had won International Leatherboy, I thought, okay, now's the time. So here is a possible opening for this interview in print. He's a leatherman, a bootblack, a pup, and a great hugger. He's Tim Hotchkin, and now he's also International Leatherboy 2015.
I'm not much of a bootblack, I'll tell you that. There are people in this city who I trust my stuff to. I have good leather, so I take care of them pretty easily. The rest of the stuff is very accurate.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about all of that and more. Okay, let's start by talking about the path that led you to winning the International Leatherboy 2015 title. And then let's talk about where you want to go from here. So let's start. Let's go way back. You are getting very sleepy. Tell me about your growing up years. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Grinnell, Iowa.
Okay.
It's halfway between Des Moines and Iowa City if you go on I-80. It's a nice little town. Not much going on, but not much had to be. It had a good college in the middle of it, so I got exposed to kind of weirdos and hippies and stuff at an early age. But the town overall was what you'd expect from a small town in Iowa.
Which college?
Grinnell College.
Oh, okay. Tell me about your parents.
My dad is a pharmacist, and he worked at the hospital in town. He worked at one of the drugstores and then went out there for the rest of his career. My mother raised 4 kids and also ran a business making and selling Christmas ornaments that she and 2 of her friends made, and worked in a doctor's office. She was a busy lady.
Okay, so you have 3 siblings.
I do have 3 siblings. You've done your research, Mr. Lenius.
Well, you just said you raised 4.
Huh?
You just said she raised 4.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm a kid, and I have 3 siblings.
3 more.
Damn it. Keep paying attention.
Brothers, sisters, what?
I have an older brother. He's the oldest of the family, and then I have 2 sisters in the middle.
Okay. And how much of this does your family know about?
Really, it depends on the level of family that you experience. My parents know kind of high-end details. They know I'm in contests. They know I'm a community leader. They know the things that will make sense to them. My siblings know that I go to places like IML and leather events, and they probably have an idea of what goes on there. My brother lives in Chicago, so I'm sure he's been exposed to IML before. Okay. And then there are my nieces and nephews, who are almost all over the age of 21, and they know a lot. A lot more than I would have anticipated. But there's been some games of Cards Against Humanity in the basement at Christmas that have led to me getting questions about fisting from my nieces and nephews.
Oh, how lovely.
How lovely.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Talk about your schooling.
I went to school.
Yes.
I went to grade school, and then I went to junior high, and then I went to high school, and then I was a good student too, pretty much all the way through high school, and then college happened, and that freshman year just sort of ate me alive, and so I went to University of Iowa the first year. They didn't necessarily want me back, so I went to Indian Hills Community College for a year, and they liked me, but I didn't like Ottumwa. And then I finished up my college at Iowa State University in Ames. So.
And what's your degree in?
Once again, here's something that isn't relevant to my day-to-day life, but I have a degree in journalism and mass communication with an emphasis in English, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you come out as gay, and what was that like for you?
I came out gay kind of staggered through my life. I told my friends right after college. I figured I was done. I was living back in my hometown, and I at least wanted to be kind of honest with some people. The first person I told was actually somebody I wasn't a big fan of, and she is now my best friend. And then the rest of the people sort of fell in line, and I told my family as time went on.
Okay, I mean, what was that like for you? Was it easy to come out, or?
It was difficult to come out. That's why I picked somebody I didn't like. I figured there was no loss if things went really wrong, and I would just deal with the aftermath if she told people. But she just took it really well, and it was nice just to have that confidant, and she kind of gave me the strength to tell my other friends, and they were really supportive. I got good support from the 2 or 3 friends that I lived with, and that was all I really needed. Because in a small town, you can't expect much.
I mean, when did you realize it?
When I realized it in junior high. I think it was the first time that you spend time with other guys in a locker room and you start seeing naked guys, and it's just, I knew that I was interested in them, and I also knew that other people in the locker room weren't. So I made a point of keeping that to myself.
Okay. So then, when did you discover leather?
Leather. I told this story as my introductory story at Great Lakes and International Leatherboy. I was 12 years old, and I had broken into this cabinet in my dad's workshop, and I found some Playboys, and there was this picture of this guy, and he was cuffed, and he had a collar, and he was restrained to this bench. It was just amazing. I was captivated by that after flipping through page after page of women that I was utterly disinterested in. It riveted me. That picture, I can still see it in my head. I wish I were a better artist. I would sketch that sucker down.
Okay, and so that was 12?
That was when I was 12.
So when did you actually start
experimenting?
Experimenting.
That didn't happen until I moved up here to the cities. I didn't have an outlet in Grinnell, and I didn't get up to Des Moines enough to know anybody who was there to feel safe with. So when I moved up to the cities, I started hanging around the 90s, and especially in the back room, so I could get exposure to guys who were wearing leather, and that was where I first really started exploring it.
And what year was that?
Oh, God, you're asking me years, and I'm so bad at this number.
Okay.
Like 90, 94, 95, something, somewhere around there, mid-90s, mid to early.
So you've been in the cities a while?
Yeah, I've been in the cities over 20 years.
Okay. You're also into boot blacking.
A little bit. I like to take care of my own leather. The guys I've met and the women who I've met who are boot blacks are all great folks, and I just pick up tips along the way. And I have good stuff, so I don't have to worry about them too much.
Okay. You are Pup Ash, and that's all caps with an exclamation point.
It is, but I'm not Pup Ash. I'm just Ash.
You're just Ash.
Yes,
okay.
Calling me Pup Ash would be like calling you human Steve.
Oh, okay. Then why do so many other pups do pup somebody?
That's their thing. It's not mine.
But you are just Ash.
I'm just Ash.
So tell me about that, starting with where the name came from.
The name has 2 meanings. It was a long road to even get to the name, but once I got the name, it stuck. It's an acronym. It stands for Assertive, Submissive Hound Dog. And I thought that described me very well, because I'm a pretty assertive guy. I am a submissive at heart. And if you've ever seen me around the bar, you know I'm a hound dog. The exclamation point came from my work email, because I put an exclamation point in my work email just to see if anyone would notice, and no one did for 5 months. So I thought if my work email has an exclamation point, my pup name has to have an exclamation point. It also has a second meaning, which I came across that made me really gravitate toward the name, and that was it answers a question and it gives me a challenge, and that is what's left standing when the fire has burned for as hot and as long as it can? Ash.
Okay.
Ash is left standing when the fire is burned for as hot and as long as it can.
Okay. I thought maybe it had something to do with cigars. Or
No,
okay.
no. I've had done some cigar playing. It's hot, but no. Okay. A lot of people think it's Pokemon too.
Oh. Okay.
Generational thing.
Yeah. So what attracts you to puppy play?
The energy of it. just the freedom. My sirs, who will beat me up relentlessly in the dungeon, know that I'm off limits in the puppy pit. I get to run around and play and wrestle with guys and not have to think about anything. It's nice.
Okay. How long have you been into puppy play?
Just the last couple of years. Yeah.
I mean, how did you kind of discover it? You just saw the other guys doing it. It's like, it looks like fun, or?
No, I was with a sir in St. Louis for a weekend, and he was head judge of Central Plains Leatherboy down there that weekend. And he said, well, if you are going around the crowd and you find a puppy to bring home, the puppy would belong to you as a boy, and then you would still belong to me. I didn't have any interest in finding a puppy because I was there for the weekend with him. I didn't want to bring anybody else into the dungeon with us. I wanted my time with him. So I didn't look for a puppy, but that idea got in my head because as a boy I try to think ahead and prepare, and if Sir ever wanted me to play with a puppy or play as a puppy, I kind of wanted to explore that and understand what it might mean. So when I came back to the cities, I reached out to a lot of pups in the community and discovered that they wanted to adopt me right away. Kind of a one of us mentality they saw in me.
And you are the moderator for the North Star Kennel Club?
I'm the vice chair of North Star Kennel Club.
Okay. So that means that you approve people who want to join the...
We have a membership committee that takes care of that. I'm on the membership committee, but yeah.
Okay, and you are a boy. What does that mean to you?
I think I define boy very differently than a lot of people. I do love service, and it's a huge thing to me. I think a lot of boys start there. My energy kind of leads me to a different path with boys. I always think of boys on the playground kind of running around and being a little bit of a smart ass and maybe taking a beating because they're a little bit of a smart ass. That's the kind of boy I identify as. But a brat, just a little bit, but with a good heart.
Okay.
But in the play space, there's a lot more adherence to orders. I love following orders. My mouth doesn't necessarily listen so much, but as a boy, I love to follow orders. I love to do what I'm told. I love to know that what I'm doing is the right thing.
Okay. What's the difference as you see it between a boy and a slave?
Just more control over your own environment. Masters tend to have more control over what a slave does all over the place, not just in the dungeon, but out of the dungeon. I think sirs and boys, a boy will have more say in how his training goes, what he might want to work on. Whereas a slave is given herself or himself over to their master to guide them because they need more guidance.
Okay, let's talk about titles and competition. How many times have you competed in leather contests? Can you list them all?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only competed 3 times.
Okay.
I competed for Mr. Minneapolis Eagle, and I was first runner-up. I competed for Great Lakes Leatherboy, and I won. And I competed for International Leatherboy, and I won.
Okay. How did the Great Lakes Leatherboy title work? I mean, you just went to Indianapolis and entered and competed there?
I had wanted to be on the Sir Boy path since before I ran for Mr. Minneapolis Eagle. And when that didn't pan out for me, Great Lakes had just opened up Minnesota as a region. They normally take people based on feeders, but we didn't have one. Mm-hmm. So my sir at the time, Tim Holden, reached out to Miss Kendra, who he knew, and said that I had performed well at Mr. Minneapolis Eagle and I wanted to run for Great Lakes Leatherboy, and she let me run. Thought it'd be a great idea. Okay.
And you won.
And I won. It was fun.
So what was that competition like?
Oh, what a great weekend. I was so relaxed going into it because I prepared pretty well. And I just, I was amazed at how much freedom we were given as contestants to just kind of be ourselves. We were expected to be where we were supposed to be 15 minutes ahead of schedule, but other than that, I got a chance to play in the pool and mosh with some new puppies and just kind of play around, which was unexpected. I thought we'd be on more lockdown.
And what did you think when you won Great Lakes Leatherboy?
I was pretty happy about that. It was a goal. And so I celebrated pretty calmly because I knew that there was more work to be done.
Okay. So tell me about the Scrabble tiles.
About 4 or 5 months before I went to Indianapolis to run for Great Lakes Leatherboy, I have some Scrabble tiles with magnets on the back that I would put different phrases on my stove, and I put Great Lakes Leatherboy just to kind of remind myself of what I was doing and how that was going. And they stayed up there until I won, and I came back and I took them down, and I put up International Leatherboy because that was the next goal. And I told people at the competition over the weekend, when I told them this story, they said, so how do what are you going to do when you go home? I said, I'm going to look at those tiles and I'm going to say, damn right I am, and laugh. And I did.
Okay. Tell me about your preparation for International Leatherboy. It was in Dallas, right?
It was in Dallas.
Yeah, so tell me, how did you prepare for that?
I prepared for it the exact same way I prepared for Great Lakes. I was going to be using the same fantasy and the same speech, so I got a chance to practice those with the people who were going to be in them. I practiced the speech until I knew it by heart and knew the inflection I wanted to give. I set up the mock interviews. So we did 3 mock interviews the Sunday right before I went, because that's when timing worked out. I was ready. I understand competition weekends after the other 2, so I was. Okay. I just focused on what I needed to do in the competition and hope everything panned out.
So tell me about the speech.
The speech is just one of my favorites. It's such a great story. I would say it right now, if you wanted me to.
Sure.
I discovered I was a leather boy when I was 12 years old. I had broken into a cabinet in my dad's workshop and discovered a stack of Playboys. Couldn't really figure what all the fuss was about until I came across a man. Oh, he was rugged. Dark brown hair and a thick mustache. A wavy patch of chest hair just begging me to nuzzle into it. And then there was the leather. Wrist restraints holding him down to a padded kneeling bench. A wide collar with a leash being pulled on by a woman? That side of the picture wasn't important to me. What was important to me was that guy. Oh, I couldn't take my eyes off of him. I wanted to know what I had to do to get strapped down to a bench. What it felt like to be able to let go like that. Oh, I'm so good at breaking into that cabinet. It seemed like any time my parents left me alone, I would pull out that leather man, stroke off, and imagine myself in his place with him holding onto the leash. Now, clearly the story has a happy ending. Arf. Too much time.
Tell me about the fantasy.
The fantasy is me encountering 3 sirs at a bar and bumping into all of them, which offends them, and so they all take their frustration out on me in a different way. The first sir bites me and punches my balls. The second sir hits me with shock sticks repeatedly. And the third sir punches the hell out of my chest. And then, because it's my fantasy, they all take me home to live happily ever after.
Do they do this consecutively or at the same time?
Consecutively.
Consecutively, okay.
Yes.
And was it the same 3 sirs at Great Lakes and at Dallas, or did you have to have different ones?
I used 2 of the same sirs. Sirs Randy and Bud Ingram Lyle were able to make it to Dallas. Sir Tim Holden was not, and so I used my Great Lakes Leather Sir Jim in the fantasy in his place.
Okay. So you've told me about kind of what you did for the competition in Dallas. Just tell me about the competition in Dallas in general. Tell me about the weekend.
It was nice. It was really well run. It was a little bit tighter ship than it was at Great Lakes. We still had some fun times, but for the most part, I was focused on the competition. I made sure I was places well ahead of 15 minutes ahead of schedule. I was ready for everything.
How many other boys were competing?
2 other boys were competing,
okay.
and they were both great guys.
So what did you think when you won in Dallas?
There's a great picture of me. I had been down on one knee a lot over the course of the weekend, coming up on stage, and it was getting sore. And so at that final time on stage, I ended up going to both knees because it was just going to be better for stability overall. And when they announced my name, there's a great picture of me just slumped over, my shoulders are rounded, my fists are on the stage, and it's that moment of relaxation, because that was the goal.
Okay. So it was just kind of.
It was, yeah.
Okay, I did it. I can relax.
It was an amazing relief. Yeah,
Okay.
It felt great. It was what I wanted.
Okay, and the boy pile was fun. How soon after they announced you the winner did that happen? Was that right after?
It was. I had been promised that it was the last photograph repeatedly.
Okay.
Because my knees were sore, and but I kept going back down because some people wanted photos, and then somebody said I had to go down one more time, and I'm like, all right, one more time, and that's when the boy pile happened. So they got me at the end, thankfully, and in case anything happens, I think, to you, that way they don't ruin the pictures in case they break you.
Yeah. And how many people were in that pile?
I've watched the video a few times. I think there was like 6. They said it was the biggest boy pile they've ever had.
Okay. And how many of those guys had you met before the contest weekend?
I had met Paul Brown. I had met Gator. I had met Bill just the day before from 2008, 2009, somewhere in there.
Bill Hebner.
Yes. Okay. And then I had met Bam Bam just in passing. Okay. So four. Yeah,
okay.
4 of them.
So now that you have the title, what do you want to do with it?
I have an Excel spreadsheet at home that has ideas that I've written down all year, and I have no idea what's in it because I've been busy doing other things.
Okay.
I know I have some ideas. They're there.
Okay. Have people been handing you cards and saying, we want you to come to this event?
Some people want me to come to events, and that's really nice and flattering. I have some ideas of what I want to do as far as this goes, and it is my year after all, so I'll make those decisions.
I mean, will we get to see you at all this year, or are you going to be on loan?
I promise you that I will attend at least the events that I attended this year in the Twin Cities, and I think maybe one more than I did last year.
Okay. So let's shift gears a little bit. What do you do professionally?
I work for Super Value in shelf management, so we decide what goes on the grocery shelves and where and why.
And will your job interfere with your title?
It didn't last year. They were very, very gracious, and I went into work this morning, in fact, and said, that community that wanted me to represent them regionally now wants me to represent them a little bit larger this year. So they're ready for it.
Okay, so they're being supportive?
Absolutely.
Okay, but it's just that community. It's not, you're not telling them too much about the community.
Some people at work know what I do. Some people at work heard my Mr. Minneapolis Eagle speech, which is way dirtier than my other speech. So some guys and girls know what I do.
Okay.
But not my bosses.
Okay. You recently taught a course in Hugging 101.
201.
It was 201.
It was 201.
Okay, it was 201.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't people already know how to hug? What is there to teach them?
See, that's Hugging 101. Everybody knows how to hug.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, that's the easy stuff. Okay. Putting your arms around somebody for 3 seconds and then patting their back to let them know you're done hugging them, that's easy stuff, sure.
Okay, so what's 201 then?
201 is all about nuance and putting emotion into your hugs and talking to people while you're hugging them, and maybe a little massage, just getting closer to them. The hugs are great. They set off a lot of chemicals in your body that are really positive and help you form bonds and relieve stress. It's a pretty amazing thing that I think a lot of people take for granted.
Okay. I mean, I'm sorry that I had to miss that course, but I do know that you give really, really good hugs.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate them.
You'll get one at the end of this interview if things go well.
Thank you. What other community causes and organizations have you supported or are you a part of?
I am a part of the North Star Kennel Club, actually just North Star Kennel Club, Atons of Minneapolis, and Titans of the Midwest. I have served on the Minnesota Leather Pride Board. As far as causes, I love supporting my friends' causes. I have a lot of things I care about. I've got family with juvenile diabetes and autism, but I've never really gravitated toward a single cause. I think what I've usually gravitated towards is just trying to encourage people to be comfortable with who they are.
Okay. And, I mean, how do you hope to use your title to help things?
Just the same way I did with my Great Lakes title, really. I want to tell my stories. I want to get out there and engage people. I want to engage the guy who's at the event for the first time, or the person who looks kind of nervous to be there in the first place. I want him to, yeah.
Okay. that's the end of my questions.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's.
I can give you a few.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a few of us who are out geeks in our gay leather community. So talk about your interest in comics, from wearing Timberwolf, a Timberwolf outfit to leather events, to the little modified Winnie the Pooh strip that you work on.
All right. I love to read. My family are big readers, and at some point around my third or fourth grade, I had a very small stack of comic books, and my grandfather realized that I really liked them, and so one day for garage sales, he went out and bought me about this many comic books, and that changed everything for me. I was comic book geek ever since, and just fell into the whole thing. I never understood the Marvel or DC thing. I just wanted to read cool stories about cool characters. And the Legion of Superheroes was one of my favorites growing up, so that was easy to fall into with the leather. Once a leather vest was in the works from a superhero vendor, the Timberwolf versus Ultra Boy argument in my head was very real, but Timberwolf was kind of puppy related, so I went that way. As far as the Winnie the Pooh thing, I've always been creative and obnoxious, so the idea of grouping those things isn't new for me. I had played with the idea of this Winnie the Pooh newspaper strip and whiting out the words that were there and putting in far worse things. And I wrote about 100 of them, and then I thought I should maybe do something with them. So I started posting them online, and I kept writing them.
And for being at your apartment, I remember something about cows.
Well, he is from Iowa, after all.
Well,
A guy randomly approached me, a member of the leather community, and asked me if I could make him an action figure, because he knew I make customized superhero action figures. And he wanted Bat Cow. And I had no idea what Bat Cow was. And I looked at him and I said, do you mean like a cow wearing a Batman cowl and a costume? And he kind of was going to give me free reign with the idea. So that's what I went with. Just the cowl, the cape, and a utility belt for Bat Cow, and a black patch on the side with a bat symbol. And I thought it was cute. It was fun. It was funny. I made it for him. I gave it to him. And then I wanted my own Bat Cow suddenly, so I had to have my own Bat Cow. And while I was making my own Bat Cow, I came up with Robin the Veal Wonder and Maine instead of Bane, and there was Bat Cow Girl, and there was all of a sudden I have like 15 action figures waiting to be photographed for an online strip that I have it in my head, but not a lot of other places.
I think I see a camp's billboard.
Oh my god! They asked me about my bucket list at Mr. Minneapolis Eagle, and that was what I said. I was like, well, I guess Bat Cow, and then I thought I am going to talk about Bat Cow in front of my Mr. Minneapolis Eagle judges. This is brilliant.
Can you compare and contrast between the three contests a little bit?
Mr. Minneapolis Eagle was really great. It was the first time I ran in anything. I had seen contests, a couple of them behind the scenes, and I knew that I wanted to be in one. I knew it was something that would suit my skill sets. I didn't anticipate the bonds I formed with those guys. It was really fun weekend. We shared it. We shared the stupidity and the craziness of it all, and the emotional roller coaster that it was. I don't think I remember much about that weekend, but Great Lakes I came in more prepared for, so I remember a lot of that. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I was on the right path, and it felt really good. I had a great time. I met up with the boy Eli, and we did the judges scavenger hunt together. We made that weekend ours, and that was important to me to have that bond, because I had it at Mr. Minneapolis Eagle. And the same happened to some degree at International. There were more people involved. There were more handlers and boyfriends and family around. So there was a lot more support for the other people right there in the system. And so we didn't get as close. I got really close with Boy Tater from the Southwest, and Boy Louie and I are going to become really close. But he is from Dallas, so he was staying off campus, as it were.
And kind of leading up to the contest, or actually kind of during the contest, you had written that you had actually gotten close to Will, who was Mr. Wisconsin Leather last year. Can you talk about Will a little bit?
We won our contest on the same weekend. He was winning Mr. Wisconsin Leather while I was busy winning Great Lakes Leatherboy. I reached out to him and congratulated him because I thought it was cute that two contests were going on at the same time. Not really all that far apart. And we ran into each other for the first time at Iowa Leather Weekend. And he and I got along right away. I always talk about Ash kind of in the third person because I think of it as my instinct, as my gut reaction. And Ash really liked him right away. We connected. We shared a lot of secrets and a lot of tears over the weekend. And I got really sad on Sunday night because I realized I was going to have to leave him in the morning. And so I adopted him. I said, I think I'm going to adopt you. Like I found a boy at the dog park or something. So just understand that. And he was on board with the idea. I actually told Sir Jason Zolin that night. I went up to him and I said, I'm never going to do anything normal. You know that, right? And he said, yes, I do know that. I said, I adopted a boy. Of course you did. So, and now he's one of my betas. He and a puppy in Des Moines named Tyr and a pup in Chicago named Vino. They're all part of my pack. And I'm pretty proud of them.
So when you won Great Lakes, you looked a little different than you do now. So you had much longer hair, and it continued to grow. Tell us about your hair.
I didn't win Mr. Minneapolis Eagle, but I had a great time. And I had kind of been a little bit past the point of getting a haircut when I ran for it, but I didn't want to get like too clean shaven for the contest. So afterwards, I got kind of lazy for a few weeks. There was a lot going on in life, and I just didn't feel like getting into the barber. And then I got it in my head to just, why bother? I'd never grown my hair out in my life past a mullet in college. And I thought, why not? Just grow it out, see what it looks like. I had some fun with it along the way. As it got longer, I had some amazing bed heads. So I took photos every morning for a month of this awful concoction that the universe would dig up every night on me. And then for the month afterwards, I photoshopped those pictures and had people surfboarding and setting off explosions in my hair relative to whatever the hair looked like. And then as the year rolled on, I started considering getting my hair cut or trimmed for Great Lakes, just so I looked as good as I could. But the idea for a fundraiser came into my mind. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun if all these people in the Minneapolis and Twin Cities area who have been mouthing off about shaving my head had a chance to shave my head? So I got the idea for shaving a haircut in July, so about a month and a half before Great Lakes. And I didn't tell anybody. And I went and I won Great Lakes. And I should have gotten my haircut 2 weeks before that because it was long and it was ticking me off. But then I couldn't get the event scheduled until late October, so I had to grow it for another 2 months, which got so unruly and obnoxiously large that once I got out of the shower and pulled my hair back and my beard was so big it kind of scared me. And then I had the event and it was just a blast. We auctioned off whether the hair was going to stay or go, and then we auctioned off who got to shave my head, and Bud and Randy Ingram Lyle won the honor and gave it to a local woman named Toy, who put on one hell of a show for those folks.
She did. She dominated all over you.
Oh, she dominated all the hell over me. It was fun. She could have done anything. I raised a lot of money for myself and the Carter Johnson Leather Library that night, so she could have done a whole lot worse than she did. I would have been fine.
Nice.
Anything else?
Just a conversation, really.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other...
What else do you want to know? You've been trying to interview me for so damn long. Screw interview questions. What do you want to know about me?
Oh, but one thing I was going to ask you was, what kind of questions did you get in your interview?
I got really mostly good questions in my interview. The judges were amazing. Dr. Larry Burden was our head judge, and he made sure that people had looked at the biographies. Most of my questions came from my biography or my application, so I was I was able to kind of express myself. It was really nice. Only one question really threw me, and that was, I think the judge said, given your knowledge of leather history, what trend or thing would you like to see come back into style or fashion? And I didn't even know what to do with the question, to be honest, because I've never really thought much about fashion and that kind of stuff. So I muddled through it the best I could. But most of the other questions went well. I got asked about the kinkiest scene I'd ever been in. And when I answered that question, the judges were pretty silent. And two of them were looking at each other and writing notes that had nothing to do with my interview. They had to do with something they were going to be doing someone later. Okay. And one of the judges might have been drooling a little bit. So I had a good interview overall. I got good questions. I got to talk about all the leather I was wearing, which was all very important to me. So, yeah.
What's your favorite piece?
Of leather?
Yeah.
Right now it's the Timberwolf vest, but I didn't have that on in the interview. That thing is just so beautiful. Makes me happy. Combines so much of who I am into one thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. You said something earlier about humor is your defense.
Oh yeah, humor is my defense mechanism. It has been since I was a kid. I remember the day I figured it out. I was in a lake behind a boat wearing a pair of water skis and absolutely terrified out of my mind that something was going to go wrong and I was going to snap a limb or fall off. And I realized that everybody around me was laughing their asses off and I was talking. I had no idea what I was saying at the time, but I started to realize that when I'm stressed out, I start to joke and I start to have fun, and it relaxes me, which takes some of the edge off the stress.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what did you think I was going to ask you that I didn't, or what do you wish that I had asked you?
I have never come into an interview trying to anticipate what is on the mind of the other guy. I just hope for the best. I never think about that kind of thing.
Well, is there anything else you would like to put on the record as long as you have the opportunity?
Gosh, I don't know. I really, kind of like I told Andrew over the summer, I'm sort of shocked that anybody would want to listen to me ramble on for as long as I have. But it's nice. And
It's all about stories.
It is, and I love stories.
So, what's next for Tim?
Really, I wanna make a smooth transition from Great Lakes Leatherboy into International Leatherboy. I've been telling stories every Saturday on the internet, and I'm going to continue to do that through the end of my reign there. Even though a couple of the stories might have to change now. And then International Leatherboy. I'm going to figure out my year. I want to lock down where I want to travel before things get too crazy. I'm already starting to make some plans. So.
You'll be pulled in a lot of directions.
I'm going to be pulled in a lot of directions, and I want to make sure I'm going where I need to be.
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yay! Edit that down to 2 minutes of good stuff. I dare you.
Well, or in my case, 700 to 800 words.
Right, exactly. You got a better chance because you can mix words together.
Mm-hmm.
I usually roll a little extra audio.
Okay.
Because I tend to roll it under the credits.
Blah 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 blah.
Right.
Blah blah blah. Witty retort.
Exactly.